Hey everybody, it's Fafford from your favorite podcast, the Lionspridetavern. Just letting you know that with a very recent real-life job change, the podcast will now be published on Monday evenings. So sit back, grab a frosty mug of ale, and welcome to the one-year anniversary of the Lion's Pride Tavern.
Of the
Melina
constructive side of that,
/10wolf said I have flying
where
now.
we
Took forever but I got it.
Sorry, hold on a sec. You got to repeat that because I forgot I turned on that text-to-speech.
Mommy Fortuna said congrats.
Take me down to the gates of hell, where a behemoth holds a wild affair, where a naga brood is a murloc king, trained from birth to kill anything, washed away by a crashing wave, feeling burdened by all this pain. Confess my secrets, I'll tell you all, echoing of the wailing halls. Watch the moon as we move to the tides of it. In their death in unity, the sisters three gain lunacy.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Lion's Pride Tavern podcast number 48. Our 1 year anniversary is tonight.
woohoo!
Yay!
Wow.
And surprise, 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 we talk about our weekend raid. and plus
What?
we interview our oldest and youngest raid member, Stormfang. But before all that, let's start off with introductions. I'm your host, Fafford. I play a Dwarven Beastmaster Hunter in the awesome game World of Warcraft. Next up is JobUI
Hi, I'm JobUui. I play a Worgen Frost Mage.
and Lorelei.
Hi, it's Lorelei, your Night Elf Fury Warrior.
And Epistle is back.
Yes, I am. I don't always tank, but when I do, I tank as a Deny Protection Paladin.
And Tapachino forwent our 1 year anniversary to go to a Comic-Con. Jeez, I don't get her.
Man.
If it's not motorcycles, it's Comic-Cons.
She's a busy lady.
Looks like she's having fun.
And our special guest tonight, Stormfang.
Hello everyone, I am Stormfang and I play a Knight of Beastmaster Hunter.
Awesome. Well, let's just start off with Stormfang. First of all, she happens to be my daughter. But, Stormfang, how long have you played WoW, and since what expansion?
I have been playing ever since I couldn't read, and it was the first expansion, I believe. Can't remember the name.
Wasn't that Burning Crusades?
Yeah, I believe so.
And here's a pretty pointed question. How did you find this raid group?
Well, my family has been always included into it, so I got involved.
I learned it from watching you, Dad.
No, tell him he made you play.
Well, okay, there's so there's a story there because she loved when she was 4 years old, which is when she started playing. She loved doing PvP. She giggled and laughed every time she died, which, you know, with us adults, we get mad when somebody kills us.
Yeah.
So we made her do all of our PvP for us.
God, can I rent her out for the Talon reputation?
Yeah, right?
There's a new business for you there.
Aren't there child labor laws somewhere? Oh, well.
I don't know. WoW token. I'll give her a WoW token.
There you go.
So, Stormfang, what's your favorite mount, pet, or toy box item, and why?
My favorite mount would probably have to be the Drake of the North, because one of my family members, he used to play World of Warcraft, not anymore. He actually gave the Drake of the North win to me, since I really wanted it.
Yeah, that was your uncle, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty nice of him. He worked and worked and worked and got it, and then you started crying and showing the big puppy dog tear eyes, and he gave it to you.
Oh, the memories are flashing back.
So, Stormfang, is there a story behind your name?
Well, kind of, just like a little short one. Before I became Stormfang, I was Kanya's, I believe. Yeah. And since my druid was Kanya, we had to change the name. Long story short, it became Stormfang. Nothing too big.
That's because every time she got on, we didn't know whether she was on with her druid or her hunter, because one was Konya and the other one was Konya's. Well, welcome to the podcast, and glad to have you on our 1-year anniversary.
Thank you.
So, JobUI, start us off with how we did on our raid this weekend.
Well, we tried something a little new. We decided to we tried to take on Goroth on heroic.
Wanna roll with us with our huts and dots, and we can now have a call around the boss. And wanna come with us if you want to rush and breaking through these mobs and kicking up dust.
Just to give it a shot and see how it would go. We did a couple of pulls on Goroth on Friday, just 2. The first one got relatively close, about 7%. And the second one wasn't as good. I think it was only like 18% or something like that.
You can come along with your PvP gear. It don't matter 'cause it's real easy here. All you gotta do is nuke some shit, nuke some shit, nuke some shit.
So we called it, we went back to normal. And that was always the plan, was just to give it a little bit of a go in heroic and then switch back to normal. And so we switched back to normal, and we made it reasonably far on Friday. We got through the Desolate Host, leaving us off on with time for a single pull on Maiden of Vigilance that night. But we pulled, and immediately somebody messed up a mechanic. We wiped, and then that was it for the night. So we came back the next night, starting off on Maiden of Vigilance, and it was a rough night. We had a lot of mechanics being poorly executed or not executed, and numerous wipes on Maiden of Vigilance. It was almost like being back at, the first time we approached her for progression. We spent the rest of the first half of the raid attacking Maiden of Vigilance, took a break, came back after the break, finally got Maiden of Vigilance down after a bunch of pulls, went on to Fallen Avatar, and then we just wiped on Fallen Avatar for the rest of the night. It was a pretty rough night on Saturday.
You can come along with your PvP gear. It don't matter 'cause it's real easy here. All you gotta do is nuke some shit, nuke some shit, nuke some shit.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, we live stream our raid. So if you want to see our frustration, from my perspective, because I'm the one that streams it, go ahead and check it out on YouTube. It's under Lionspridetavern live stream.
Yeah, it was, but we occasionally have these really rough nights. That was really, that was one of our worst nights. I think I'd have to say, not necessarily our worst, but probably one of our top 10 worst nights of raiding.
Yeah, it was something. I don't have the exact words. Now, normally it's always Fafford's fault on everything that happens, but this is the first time our tank has been back in 4 weeks.
And there's sudden long pause.
Oh,
Congratulations.
Oh, my wife smacked me
Well,
upside the back of the head. She's like, I'm going to be nice.
that was really hard for Epistle to come in on a fight that he really hasn't done, and to do Avatar like that. That I give you credit for what you did, Epistle, because that was hard. There's a lot going on that fight.
And I think everybody has to be alert, and so people are feeling the tank's pain of having to know and respond to the mechanic all the time. So there's just a couple things that needed to be ironed out. And I think after 1 or 2 attempts, I really actually did get a sense of how it was working. And then from there on in, I didn't really make particularly many mistakes. And it does seem that's a boss you can make, one or two mistakes on, but more than that, and it really starts to just make the healer's job impossible. So I would say, I contributed about 25% to the problem on that night. But what was funny is after a couple pulls, I really felt like I got in the swing of things, and I was looking around and going, "Oh, nope, that person's made a mistake," and "Oh, nope, that person ran into that and shouldn't have." So I pretty quickly got the hang of it. And in fact, after that, I won't name any other tanks, but I noticed another tank making a couple of mistakes.
Durag,
Aw.
a little bit Butterfingers. That's for sure.
Well, I was actually surprised to see how many whoopsies there were. Like at the beginning, I was not getting it together because I didn't know exactly how to respond to a couple different scenarios. And once I got that down, it was fine. But it did cause, or was close to the cause of, a couple of wipes.
Yeah, he at least is vocal when he whoopsies. In the fight,
I was too busy. I was too busy trying to figure out what, where I should be standing and all the mechanics and things.
It seemed you weren't alone in that, really.
But yeah, that's what I started to notice. I noticed people with bombs just standing on the platform, not jumping off. I saw people running into the wrong section. I saw people jumping in when they didn't have a bomb on them. And so, when I start to notice that usually means I'm already pretty comfortable with the fight.
Yeah. And, it was funny because at one point, and I don't remember which boss it was, but Durag goes, "Oh, sorry, I didn't taunt. I was typing."
Yeah, I was like, why are you typing in a raid?
Yeah.
I think he was communicating with a pistol.
Well, if he was, yeah, I didn't get that message, even a cutoff version. What was funny though too is that he did say whoopsie the one time. There was another time though that, well, no, I shouldn't say.
Well, we had lots of whoopsies on that.
There were
fight,
whoopsies
so
all
there
over.
Were whoopsies all over.
And my first were, I don't know what I'm doing, Z's, and then I had maybe one whoopsie after that, and I'm good to go from here on in. But I was seeing lots of really strange gameplay around. And what is it about that fight? Because when I was leaving, people were really having trouble learning it, and now 4 weeks on, people still seem to be making those mistakes. There's something about the dynamics of that one just seemed to throw people off.
I wish that I knew what is giving people trouble, because personally it seems like a pretty straightforward fight once you learn the mechanics and learn what you have to do. It seems like it's not hard, right? At least to me it doesn't. But some of our raiders have just had a really rough time getting the rhythm of that fight down, and just being able to do the steps. I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that the mechanics of that fight just keep happening as the fight progresses. Just it doesn't relent. It's just they keep going and keep going and keep going. And
yeah, you have to be on your toes the whole time. Well, here's the question: is it, and without calling anybody out, is it the same few people making mistakes, or is it that it's one person having a moment of inattention distributed between so many people in the raid, and it just takes one?
It's not the exact same people. It's just a matter of these last three bosses of this raid, and you can talk to any other raid group. The slightest mistake on anybody's part, and these are mechanics that change. It's random on who they happen to. So unlike previous raids that we've always done and always had, the people that do, when we've talked about this before, the special mechanics people, the ones that always go stand underneath the dropping ball, or they always go, take this out of the group. Now Blizzard has involved everybody, and they've randomly done it. So like switching sides, it's not just I'm always on the green side or I'm always on the white side. It's, you don't know what side you're going to be on, and you have to pay attention to that. Not just you, everybody does, because all it takes is one person to get on the wrong side, and then everybody's jumping in the hole. And when everybody jumps in the hole, you have that opportunity to get thrown over to the other side and hit the other group with the wrong color and make all them jump in, or you bombed, you know what I'm saying? And these
it's like a cascading failure.
Yeah, and these last 3 bosses are that way. They're unforgiving.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. There is at least one mechanic on Fallen Avatar that is one of those mechanics that can be dealt with by people who are very, very comfortable with mechanics. Like our mechanics masters, I guess you might call them, or something. But which is when we're transitioning from one side to the other, the people that grab the balls.
Yeah.
That's something that a more skilled or a more proficient mechanics player can usually handle pretty decently. But like when you get a bunch of people trying to do it, then I've seen like sides get blown up because you grab the wrong color, and anybody nearby you and yourself are gonna get bomb on you, and then you're jumping into the middle, and once again, it's hit or miss as to whether or not you're going to kill some folks, or whether or not they're going to land on the right sides. And
or in the case of one attempt, you hit the tank with it. The tank has to run in, but the tank has to pick up the boss right away, and that causes chaos.
Yeah, and you're talking about the Maiden of Vigilance fight.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, sorry. Yeah, my mistake. I said Fallen Avatar, didn't I?
Yeah, that's all right.
But, I think that since people are having so much trouble, and I think from what I've been observing with that is that it is a paying attention issue. There's too many things out there between a weak aura and DBM just actually telling you on your screen, this is the color you are. People aren't paying attention. And part of all is to a panic. I think that people go into a panic if they're, oh my gosh, I'm on the wrong side. And what I noticed this past raid was people trying to, if they were on the wrong side, they were trying to run from the back of the wrong side across to the front. And that was killing everybody. So I think what people have to start doing is something that we've really not focused on in the podcast, and that's positioning. And that, you've just got to take yourself out. If you're on the wrong side, don't run through. Don't try to run to the one side or the other. Just run around the back of the platform to the side you're supposed to be on, because otherwise you're going to take everybody out with you.
Yeah, I actually had a moment where in one of the polls I got blown to the wrong side by accident. There was a mess going on. I got blown to the wrong side, and somebody else got blown to the other side, I guess. And I saw that other person coming along the backside of the wall, because the prescribed method is to go along the back wall behind the boss on the outside of the ring, to avoid getting near the other players, making them explode. And I saw that other player coming with the opposite color, and so I just moved in a little bit, and we each took our path, and we stayed far enough away from each other and crossed paths and returned back to our appropriate side.
That was you and
issue.
me.
Was that you?
Yeah, it was. Because I saw you coming. I was like, oh, okay, he stopped. I'm going to go.
Yeah, I kind of stopped and moved in closer to the boss, but still far away from everybody else. And you went along the back wall, and I continued on. And...
Just 2 tunes passing in the raid. But I think Lorelai's dead on this one, because that was something I was having trouble with at the beginning, because there were so many alarms going off. And I was at one point just trying to figure out, okay, which debuff do I have? Seems like a reasonable thing. And I was looking all over my screen to find that information. And once I found out where it was going to be, it was fine. But I was also hearing 2 or 3 alerts going on simultaneously. And it's like, well, which one do I pay attention to? I don't really know. And eventually I figured it out. But DBM was just way too chatty. And GTFO, between the two of them, were just, way too noisy and distracting.
Well, I think a part of that is there was a lot of mistakes being made. It's not normally that bad.
That may be too.
I even saw players in that fight. When you get the bomb on you in that fight, your job is to get into the middle. And in some of our past raids, I've seen some players, really, learning the ropes on that, and they're able to time it up and keep DPSing the boss until the bomb is getting closer to going off, and then they jump. But I actually saw players getting the bomb on them and then running to the outside wall. And I was like, you're supposed to go in the middle. What are you doing?
Just no.
And
Yeah.
also people were running forward toward the boss, which means you're going to hit everybody that's next to the boss on the other side, and you're taking your chance of getting blown to the other side. You're making that greater, because if you don't get into that hole and turn your back, when I jump in, I make sure that I'm turned to face the boss with the direction I'm supposed to be in. Like that one time I got blown to the other side, I messed up and I turned around the other way and got blown to the wrong side. But running forward is not an option. You should never go forward, because you're going to hit the tank. The tank's going to hit everybody else, and it's just going to domino effect all the way on the other side.
Now, you know what really shocked me with that, though, is I thought at the very last attempt, when we got her down, right, we added 2 new people, I think, at that point. There was a couple spots in the raid, and in my head, I thought, oh no, 2 more random elements. They could have been the best players in the world, wouldn't have mattered. It's like 2 more random elements in this raid, and that's going to make it chaos. And yet, lo and behold, we took the boss down. So kudos to those coming in and being right on their game.
Well, actually, one of them was not very right on the game and died almost immediately, which I was kind of thankful for, because they don't have those mechanics anymore. They're not blowing up any mechanics. But there was, like, I was a little taken aback that we were adding people after the break too, just because I was like, oh no, that's more cooks in the kitchen, and the kitchen's already on fire.
And we're cooking gunpowder.
Yeah, but it did work out. We did after the break. I personally think it was in part people just taking a breather and taking that 5 minutes and stepping away for a minute and then coming back and just taking a few breaths and focusing in, and then doing it right when they came back for the most part. I think that was like what did it as far as that goes. But I don't personally understand how it continues to be such a problematic boss for us, because this isn't the first time that we've run into numerous what I consider to be unnecessary wipes on that boss, and I'm also not really sure how to fix that. Yeah, does anybody else have an idea of like what we should do to get folks on board with that fight?
I think that we need to, especially with these last bosses, and Kill Jaden's going to be a big one for this too, is that people really have got to at least watch the fight. I know that, we're not the Fat Boss group. They're longtime raiders. They're all knowing what they're doing, and there's a different makeup of people in that group. But it's watching what's happening that's the most important thing. What's going to come up. Because there are too many people asking what to do that have already done this fight. And really, we should not be having to explain, you need to move to the other side, which side is, just remind everybody, when we've got green side, we've got a yellow white side. That's pretty self-explanatory. And there's really no excuse at this point for people having to constantly say, well, what do? I don't know what to do. Explain it again. That tells me that people aren't taking responsibility for what they're supposed to be doing. And as Fafford says, this is now a raid where everybody's got to take part in what they're doing, and you've got to know your part. The raid has to trust that everybody knows what they're doing, because we can't call all of this out. We can't say, by the time you say, oh, so-and-so's on the wrong side, well, 5 people have blown up and there goes the raid.
Right. Well, that begs the question, and I know this is a very inclusive group, but I mean, do we set up a bench for players who aren't doing mechanics and unwilling to go and do the research and get familiar with these fights enough and be ready to go, kind of thing, where we start benching some players, kind of thing, so that we can progress? Because the question arises, do we keep struggling on these bosses and not progressing, or do we bench some folks so that those that are putting in the effort can move on?
Personally, I would say no, because then you're stepping into that elitist area. And I get what you're saying, because Fridays are our normal run to get gear, and then Saturdays are progression. But when you start picking certain people out, that's when, I hate saying it, but that's when feelings get hurt, and then they don't want to raid with us, and then you get the reputation, well, They're just a bunch of elitist jerks. I don't mind. I mean, I want to progress just like everybody else, and I think we do. This is just the first time we've come across, and it's just the last 3 bosses that everybody has to be on their toes. And all these other times, there's been people who have always skated by uh, and not had to do any serious mechanics. And these last 3 are very serious mechanics because maybe one can get away with messing it up, but when you do it more than once, that wipes the whole group.
Or when something chaotic happens. And I do think there's going to be something to be said for the person who kind of knows they're messing it up, but I guess worse is the person who's messing it up and doesn't really realize it's them and thinks maybe it's somebody else's doing something. And, um, to me, it's sort of a communication piece. How do you communicate in a group that's coming together to do something for fun, right? That somebody's sort of falling short of the standard, needs a little help, needs a little assistance. The same thing with, probably DPS, right? If someone's performing on the low end, how do we help, support, encourage people to improve? And then what happens when people are seeming unable to? I know I had some real life friends who were very frustrated years ago because they were doing everything they could think of to improve the DPS and couldn't get anywhere. And I was at a loss as to what it was too. So it's one of those things where you definitely want to keep the channels open. You want to be talking. You want to be open about the situation, but at the same time, nobody wants to be that person who's letting the group down and feeling that they're creating a problem. So it feels like there needs to be more communication, not less, when that sort of situation arises. But how do you do that within a group that raids together? I'm not sure.
Well, I agree. I agree with the talking part. And one thing that might help is that since most of the people who raid are now in Fafford's Guild, there's an opportunity there to say, all right, well, if you're having problems, how about if you feel, or we see somebody, how about if we have this person in the guild be responsible or for just talking to that person, saying, well, what can I help you with on this? Is there something, what are you having problems with, seeing the DBM or getting maybe your screen just needs to be cleaned up a little bit so you can see things. I mean, I don't know how everybody's UI is set up, but if you've got stuff in the way, you're not going to see those raid warnings. So maybe that could be done.
Yeah, because I do know that there's quite a few, how do I say it, technically improficient people that
technically challenged.
Well, not, yeah, sort of challenged. I mean, they're obviously playing a computer game, but yet their computer skills are not where they should be, I would think, if I was a computer gamer, but that's neither here nor there, I suppose. But I mean, I knew a guy that owned a computer and didn't have a clue how to run it. He just knew he clicked on this icon and the game started and he logged in and played.
Well, I think what you're getting at really there is that some of our members are what would generally be considered more casual gamers. They're not necessarily as hardcore. And, but they might need a helping hand as we head into what is amounting to be boss fights that are where the mechanics are simply more hardcore.
Yeah. Yeah, because before I started up this raid group, we'd have various versions of the same raid group, and I don't know. There were people that would whisper me and say, "That guy's a jerk face," I was like, "Well, no, he was just trying to help you," but it was the way it came across. So I kind of agree with Lorelei and Epistle that, yeah, maybe we'll just start talking to some of these people on the sidebar and see if they need any help, or maybe there is something that's not working for them and they don't know that that's what it is.
Since the first big problem we have is the switching sides part, and I know because I do it backwards in my guild, so I'm always having to pay attention to what side is what, and it's like, oh my god, I'm on the wrong side. I just even doing something simple like setting your DBM to do the runaway little girl when the infusions come out. I had to do that a lot when we first started doing this fight. So even though I may not have to run, it's an audio cue for me to make sure I'm looking at that sentence. So it could be just that, just make sure that somebody's going, oh my God, I got to look. And then I got to move.
Yeah. Personally, I find that the mechanics for myself, because the mechanics are going to be, somewhat difficult, especially initially for all of us, is personally, the calmer I am and the more comfortable I am in understanding what's coming next and whether it's coming. And even where I pay attention to things like my DBM timers, where I'll glance over at my DBM timer and I'll see whatever's coming up next. And I go, okay, well, the infusion's coming up next. Okay, well, the boss is going to jump to the other side. And then I find that personally, it allows me to relax a little bit and to pay more attention to those finer details, like, am I on the correct side? Am I, what's happening next? Or if I know that the infusion's coming, I go, okay, the infusion's about to come. I need to pay attention really closely to what color I'm on and which side I'm on. Right now I'm on the fell side, so let me see what happens. And then it comes up and it says, fell infusion. Okay, so I stay where I am. Or it comes up and it says light infusion. Okay, time to move. And I'm ready and prepared for that moment when it happens ahead of time, before it happens, as opposed to just reacting to it as it happens.
Yeah. Now, this is where I wonder, though, are we moving to a situation where we're saying, if we're seeing somebody's having difficulty and they are not able to, or they're consistently having problems, that somebody in the raid is going to say, okay, we notice you're having some problems. We want to talk with you about how we solve those problems. Does that seem like a fair way to go?
I think so, for the most part. But there's also the issue of, and I agree with JobUI because I do the same thing that he does. But I think to be a raid leader and to be a caller and to be a special mechanics person, you have to have that calmness about you playing the game, where I think a lot of these less experienced raiders don't have that, and maybe they just lack the ability to do that, because I know it takes a special person. Not everybody can be a raid leader and call everything out and do all the special mechanics, but Blizzard's making us do it, so we're running into these issues. Because I've already heard stories that the last boss on LFR for Tome of Sargeras is a nightmare, and that's in LFRs, and they have very little mechanics going on.
Yeah, I tend to agree that while I understand we have the rule of not calling players out as much as possible, I know that frustrations rise, and sometimes we slip on that occasionally. I know that I've done that, much to my own chagrin. But there should be something in place in there where there is an allowance of being able to, point to a certain player that we are seeing is struggling with the mechanics, and to be able to say that, talk to that person specifically, because I know that as one of the people who explains the mechanics in the fight and calls stuff out, I usually have to, speak generally, and then I don't know if that one person who's really struggling, who I'm actually talking to, is really hearing what I'm saying when I'm trying to explain how they can maybe get through that mechanic easier. So I think it might be an important note to be able to address the individuals, and by all means trying to do it in the most constructive way possible. But
one thing that can be done is, after the raid and within the guild, find somebody who is familiar and proficient with that fight and what's going on, that has the ability to talk to people without making them feel like they're being put down or talked down to. Also, just let people know before or after the raid, well, maybe before everybody's there and in the chat, that if you're having problems, please feel free to go talk to this person. They'll help you with it, help you figure out what you're having a problem with. I think if you let people know that you've got somebody that they can go to, they'll go to you. I mean, we do that in our raid. We have officers, and certain officers, you get talked to. I get talked to all the time by new members about, well, what's the best way to do this, or where can I go to find that? They just want somebody who's going to answer their question and not make them feel like, they're dumb because they don't know that.
Yeah.
And we get a pipe in from Stormfang. So
I do have to agree.
sorry, Stormfang. We know she doesn't actually raid with us in our raid team that we're currently at. She raided with us in the past, but she knew it was the 1 year anniversary, and she gave me those, teary eye, big eye, puppy dog. Can I be on your podcast?
Aw.
So I was like, all right, but I get a back rub first.
No, there's always a deal.
Yes.
Well, I do think it also depends on where somebody's at. Like, I know there's been all kinds of little conversations between people about, well, how's your DPS? Are you doing this? The people who know each other and feel secure and comfortable with each other, that communication happens naturally. But if somebody's new or not really connected, that's where some of those feelings sort of trigger. I know last night, if you listened to the YouTube channel, I took a little heat for not always knowing exactly what I was doing, and I think for a good reason. And I'm comfortable with that, and I think that's fine. But there are several pokes of, well, Epistle has to get his game together and know what he's doing, and that's fine.
True.
Yeah,
but not everyone's going to feel comfortable with that, right?
Right. I mean, a lot of that comes from familiarity. I mean, there's a number of us who have been gaming together for years. And so the occasional, poke at the ribs, is all in good fun. It might be, serious and honest, but at the same time, said in a sort of loving, but I
am frustrated. Please fix this. Yeah, I hear you. We'll get it done, and then we move on.
Right.
Well, that's why we always have the familiar saying. It's always Fafford's fault.
Exactly.
The hunter. All right, guys. I think we aired our frustration, and we've got a lot of good ideas to go talk to our guild mates.
I would actually say, if we're doing the dancing with bosses, I think we've just spent a lot of time doing the Maiden of Vigilance dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's when we're supposed to explain it correctly. So everybody listening,
how to do it.
Yeah, not the way we
okay.
did it. I mean, you can come watch the live feed for that.
How not to do the Maiden 101.
Yeah. Well, they say the best way to learn is by making mistakes. Thomas Edison said, "I have not failed 1,000 times. I have successfully discovered 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb."
I thought he had a whole team of engineers that did it for him.
All right, guys, so let's move on. One of the suggestions we had for our 1 year anniversary was to tell a story of a past podcast, maybe a mistake you made or a highlight or something that really stuck in your memory, on 48 other podcasts, a year's worth. There's got to be something that each one of us have thought about and went, wow, that was really cool, or I really regret that. So
I've got one.
Well, we'll start off with Epistle then.
Well, I'm somewhat paranoid. There was a few episodes in, we got together, we did our recording, and usually at the very beginning with the tool we're using, there's a line that says, "User in your channel has started to record," or started recording. And none of us noticed that had never happened. And we got to the end of the podcast, and our whole podcast didn't exist.
I think we were about halfway, I think, is when we realized it was.
Oh, was it? Okay, it felt like it was a long way in when we were like, wait a minute, is this getting recorded? Oh,
yeah.
Dear.
Yeah, that was actually going to be the same one that popped into my head, was the day that it didn't record.
Memories.
Oh, because that one was like it was one of those times where it felt like everything was going so smooth and everybody was just clicking and
It was
Best
flawless.
podcast ever.
Yeah.
oh yeah, it was so smooth and so great, and then Fafruit's like, oh no, I'm not recording.
So what happens, that was in TeamSpeak, so what happens is when you start recording, it pops up with a window saying, is this where you want to put your recording at on your hard drive? And I didn't click OK.
Right.
So it sat there the whole time waiting for me to say, is this where you want it? It's where I put it every week. All right. Well, anybody else? Because I know it takes a little bit to think about this. I don't want to put anybody on the spot. JoBui?
I don't want to put anybody on the spot except, you know.
I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah, that's how it usually goes, I think.
Well, okay, see, that's what I was going to talk about. Out of all the podcasts, I make you answer the question first. Now, when I first started, I don't know if you guys ever noticed, when I first started, I have you guys as a list of your names so I knew who to go to next and I wouldn't skip anybody. And what I was doing at first is I'd go down the list. I go JoBui, Lorelei, Epistle, Tapachino. Then I'd go Epistle, Lorelei, JoBui, Tapachino. You know, I always kind of left Tapachino at the end because she thanked me for it because she's like, I'm really glad you always put me at last because everybody else is talking and I didn't know what to say. And now once they talking, yeah, I can say something because I got it.
Yeah,
but
and you know, over time, eventually, I started like asking like questions like, "What are you going to be asking about as far as this goes later?" So I had time to think about it because you just bring it on me.
I remember that with reminiscing the past. I wasn't going to talk. I wasn't going to tell you guys, and I think the first one I just threw it on you, and everybody's like, "Yeah, don't do that again." We want to know what it is so we can think about it.
Which zone was that again? What expansion? What?
Right. All right. So my thing that sticks out in my mind. I try not to make too many mistakes. I do occasionally make mistakes that have to be edited out here and there. But there was one week in particular when I was doing a Getting Deeps where I was literally messing up every sentence and having to. I think I had to start over on that about 10 to 15 times throughout that 1 minute segment, and it was just absurd. I don't know what happened. I fell apart and I just couldn't seem to get it right. I felt a bit like Tapachino.
After about the 8th time though, it was getting really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of laughing at myself. You know, like there was the whole like I was saying the sentence and it wasn't coming out right, so I'm like blah 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 blah. And I'm like, what is going on? Why doesn't my mouth work?
What's even funnier is you weren't making it up extemporaneously. You were reading it, and so I could see the text and I could see the line that you're going to screw up, and I saw it coming, and it was funny.
Yeah, so that would be one of the moments that sticks out in mind. The day I couldn't read my own, I couldn't do my own Getting Deeps.
Well, you know, one of the nice things about editing is that when we do screw up, we stop, we pause, and then we say it again. So when I'm editing, I just got to take out that first section and the second, and you know, unless you do it 4 or 5 times, then I have to go, all right, which one was his best one?
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I really felt bad for you on trying to edit that particular week's Getting Deeps.
Well, what was funny is that instead of just backing up a sentence, you backed up a whole paragraph and then reread it again. So I have to listen to the flub up and then go back to the beginning of the flub up and say, okay, this is where you started to screw up. All right, then I got to go to the end of it and listen to it again to get to the end of it to start off where you did it good. So I listened to it 3 or 4 times before I get the edit right.
I hope you learned something.
You learned how to edit really well.
Yes, I'm a master at editing now.
You have another career then going there, editing videos and things.
Yeah.
I liked our reminiscences. Is that a word? I don't know.
I don't think so.
About our zones. I know that was the hardest thing. It's kind of like, oh, what was I doing in Red Ridge? I have no idea. It's been like 5 years since I've been in Red Ridge. But I really enjoyed those because it made me go back and think of times when I really enjoyed being in a zone or when I absolutely hated being in a zone.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, I used to have to. I would have to like pull up the map and go look at that map and go. Well, first I'd have to find it sometimes because I forget where that zone is, and then I find it and I look at the map and go, okay, what was I doing in that zone? Oh, I remember that thing. And
It's amazing how familiar a name can be. And you're like, I know that name, and I know I spent time in that zone, but I just can't visualize it. And it's tied to the map. That's where the memory kicks in.
how about you, Fafford? What was one of your favorite moments in the podcast history?
I think that was the time I went hunting and we didn't have one. No, I'm just kidding. I have loved every podcast that we've ever done. But my favorite so far has to be, and I bring it up all the time, and I know she enjoys it, or at least she's pretending to enjoy it, is when Tapachino said "tink it." I swear to
I
God,
didn't say drink it.
The Twinket episode.
the Twinket episode,
Oh, yes.
yes. Oh my God, that was. I mean, I listened to that. Like I said, when you guys screw up, I got to listen to it 3 or 4 times. I listened to that thing like a dozen times. I made at the end. I don't know if you guys know, but at the end of the podcast, I strung them all together.
No.
Oh, I didn't hear that one.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
I don't think she listened to it either because she said, "Oh, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that one," because I told her I did a whole bloopers on it.
Well, the times that I haven't been here, I have listened to the podcast just to keep up. And I think I have commented that it's a very surreal experience because if you listen to a podcast, you're just used to passively listening to it. But if you're participating in it, and then you're not in it, and then you're listening to everyone talk, so I hear all you guys talking, my family would just laugh at me because I would be like, you can't say anything now, Dad. It's past. It's been recorded. You can't comment. And I'm trying to interact with you, but I can't.
I could just see you over in France, and all the French people are going, "Look at that Lulu American."
Yeah.
Yeah, je sais pas. In Iceland, they're like, what? Give them some more fish.
So sorry, Stormfang, you're kind of not getting a lot in here because you don't raid with us.
That's all right.
I was gonna say I thought maybe she fell asleep.
No, I'm just painting right now. Yes, I'm falling asleep. Not really.
So going along with this same idea that we just told about our favorite one, and I like to be positive and negative. So tell me the worst podcast story.
Oh no.
Mm.
Oh, that's hard.
I think I've got one. For me, at least personally, this is going back. When the podcast first started out, we didn't have any minutes at all, and then as far as our personal minutes, like Lorelai's Pet Battle Minute and whatnot, and we had started off, and I started doing the Jobui's Transmog Minute, and I got like a few weeks in, and then it's like occurred to me that I had nothing to say about transmogs that week. I was like, what else can I say? Purple is in this week. What are you gonna say, right? So and so like for me, I think like that there was that moment where I had to decide, because I love transmogging. I mean, I like to come up and do outfits for my tune, and I think it's a fun thing to do in WoW, and I want to share that with other players and whatnot. But I just realized I just didn't have much to say on that subject, and so I had to make the decision to switch from Jobui's Transmog Minute to my Getting Deeps segment, and I'd say that was kind of a little bit bittersweet moment, because of how much I do love transmogs, but it was a move I had to make.
Anybody else?
Well, mine is a little weird one. It's not that I had a podcast where I had something going on that I really didn't like. It was a podcast. It was one of our important ones. I'm not sure. Did we do another anniversary or like maybe the 25th one or something? And I felt like I had to be there for it. And I had been invited to some friends' house for a game night, and they were really gracious to let me go in and use their office. And Tensoon had to bring over a laptop so we could get connected to the TeamSpeak or whatever we were using at the time. And it became a real production. But I felt really bad in the background for kind of leaving everybody and then coming in and doing a podcast. But so I felt like, maybe that was a podcast I should have missed. But
I
think
remember
we
that
were
one.
doing something
Yeah.
important. It was a really weird sound because I was connected through a laptop and a computer.
Yeah, and we heard the party like
Yes.
going on in the background.
Oh
I
my,
remember
yeah,
that.
they were playing. It wasn't Cards Against Humanity. I think it was a game called Codenames, which is a hilarious game. But we play a kind of risque version of it, and I get laughed at a lot. So they were in there having a real good time with that.
Yeah, we can hear that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like being glad that you were at the podcast and also feeling bad for you that you weren't in the other room with those people who were laughing that I could hear.
Oh yeah. It's a pretty big group. It's a bunch of people that get together from out of town too. So I don't know. I guess that was about the only thing, because I've loved all of our podcasts. I really have.
They've always been a positive experience for me. I think the only times that there's been a downside to them is it's just when it happens during the week, because when we tape it, I'm trying to get my whole week ready coming up, and so my professional obligations are just pushing right up against my weekend, and the podcast sort of is the last hurrah that I have before getting back into the work week. So I enjoy it, but it's kind of bittersweet because it's just at that point of changing gears.
Understandable. Yeah. So mine's kind of the same thing, because, like our technical difficulty we had on podcast number 47, if my internet goes down and I'm not there to record it, we don't have a podcast. So I'm not going to say it's my worst thing. It's just my biggest fear is that something's going to happen, or I can't get away. I always make myself available. That's why it works so well on the day. And then the other thing is, after you guys do your podcast, you're done. Then I still have 2 hours worth of editing and getting it ready to go. I do a lot of marketing on it. I put it on and Donna Bell's been great helping me, because she actually does the video of her pictures, and she produces it, gets it all ready. All she does is upload it to me. Yeah. She uploads it to me, and then I upload it to YouTube, and then I put in the YouTube descriptions and all that, and then off it goes.
And I think we need to give you and Donna a lot of credit, because I know I don't know what's involved in what you all do for that, but for you to take that time, thank you very much for doing that. We have the easy job. We just have to figure out what we want to say.
I don't know, because
Which can be hard.
all I got to do is, I said that before when I went on the Goblin Goldcast. Okay. So those guys, pre-production, they're sitting there like, okay, are you ready? We gave you all the questions. I'm like, I don't do this to my guys. I don't give them the questions. They get it thrown on them, which was really nice. But I was in the opposite position. So I think that's probably the worst, is that when I got interviewed by them, because I was now in your role and they were in mine, where they were asking the questions and I had to come up with the answers. But they were gracious enough to give me the questions beforehand, and I came up with all sorts of really good answers.
I will say that I do occasionally enjoy tossing your questions back at you.
Yeah, I know.
Because sometimes you don't necessarily, give us your take on that subject. More as the host kind of position, but it's interesting to hear your take on it too.
So, one last question then for you guys. So when I came up with this idea, I approached, I believe it was JobUI first. And I said, because I was just thinking we could do a podcast to get our raid members to listen to their raid leaders. That was my ultimate goal with this podcast. And here it is a year later, and we've had over 5,000 people, fans from around the world listen to us. So my question to you guys is, did you think we were going to go this direction with this podcast? Because we really didn't have a plan going into it.
No.
Yeah, no.
I don't think I don't think I did. I mean, I didn't really have a particular expectation about how it was going to evolve, or whether it was going to continue. It just sounded like something that would be fun to do, and the more we did it, the more fun it was to do. I actually, I look forward to my raid nights and all that sort of thing, and then I started looking forward to the podcast too. Some weeks I was looking forward more to the podcast than the raid night. So it just for me, no, it wasn't at all something that I thought would evolve into this. And there's been a couple of moments too that have been kind of surprising, where I've bumped into people on like Reddit and other forums and whatnot that listened to the podcast and recognized me, or that just mentioned the podcast, and it was like, wow, these folks are actually listening, and that was pretty cool. I thought that was a really nice thing to see and to hear, that there are people out there that are appreciating it. And like you said, it's a bit surprising, because we were just doing this, kind of for the raid group to a certain extent, and it just kind of grew.
Well, it's funny because it was just simple ideas. When we first started off, like I said, it was just JoBui and I, and we were just going to talk about, how we could make our raid team better. And then it just hit me all of a sudden, it's like, oh, we should get a tank and a healer and a melee DPS also. And so then we went, well, who should we invite? And we're going, well, first of all, we got to have a tank. And so I started off with Durag, and because he's my son, I said, you're going to do this. Well, he did one episode, the first one. And after that, he's like, Dad, I really don't want to do this. And he goes, why don't you ask Epistle? I bet you he'd love to do it.
And he was totally right. When you threw the idea by me, I thought, that's absolutely brilliant. I did see that it could become something. Like, I figured we could get some traction and some audience, but I assumed it was always going to be a fairly niche, smaller sort of, few dozen kind of audience. And the fact that there are people who are intrigued with what we do has been a delight and a joy as we've gone along.
Yeah, I actually remember that conversation, Favard, and when we were discussing like who do we invite, and if I remember correctly, I think it was me that suggested that we bring Lorelei on.
Yeah, you said we need a female perspective.
Yep.
Okay.
And two,
skill and knowledge.
It wasn't just that.
No, that was.
Don't pin that on me. That was not the point. I wanted her on because she was, Lorelei, throughout our rating history has been one of our more solid, more on point players that we've had. She knows the mechanics, she does the mechanics. I don't recall ever really being, I think the only time I've ever like said something specifically to Lorelei during any fight was, oddly enough, during Maiden, but I saw her running ahead of us, and it wasn't even like, I didn't even think that she was doing something wrong. I just wondered if she knew that she was on the wrong side, and I was like, hey, Lorelei, you're on the wrong side, right? She's like, yep, I do. And I'm like, all right, it's cool. And so, that was, initially, that was one of the key reasons why I wanted Lorelei on board. Because, I thought she'd bring something to the table that was very valuable to the podcast. And as it turns out, it really has been.
I think, Lorelei, you were on before me, right? So you were there for the first one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so this is not coming from a place of me having an opinion on whether you should be in it or not, but I've always observed that you've thought tactically, you've analyzed the situation, you really thought through what needs to be done and the flow of a fight. So it made total sense to me that you're part of this team.
Well, thank you. That's why I hope that, just by having done them, even from a different perspective, we don't have to do it the way I always bring my guild in, because I've invited members of the raid to raid with my guild to see how things are done. If we're having a problem with a specific fight, look at it from a different perspective, get in and do it, and then tweak it for how it'll work, because things don't work for every guild or every raiding group. You have to figure out how to make it work, but it just, and I really have to thank my guild for being, gracious enough and nice enough to just say, yeah, go ahead and let them come on in.
Yeah, and
they like to help people too.
We really appreciate you because we know you raid before our raid group, so you've already looted all this stuff.
Yeah.
Now you're working on heroics, though, right?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So when we go into normal, you're like, "Oh, good, I get loot," but it's
I get to breathe a little bit, except for the maiden fight, because I've always got to be knocking myself in the head because we switch those sides, and I'm always like, "Oh, focus, 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 focus."
So yeah, and there's a couple other your raid members that raid with us that also raid with you that I know are not getting here.
Theo.
So yep, and
well,
we
Theo
really
sometimes he does. Theo does because of his work schedule, he can't raid very often during the week. I mean, he'll try to once a week at least, but a lot of times he has to leave during our break so he can get to bed. But no, he appreciates being able to raid with us on the weekend.
I just realized what it's like for you, Lorelai, in that fight. I spent a week driving in England on the wrong side of the road.
That's exactly it.
It's
Yeah, I'm driving on
melting
good.
experience. It's terrible.
Perfect analogy.
I was just thinking maybe that's how we get people to get back on their toes in that fight, is we switch it up. We're like, all right, the fell side is on the other side.
Oh my God.
Well, then we tried to remember somebody said that, and it's like, no, don't switch it. Don't switch it. I just go in when I start there. I'm like, okay, I'm starting on green. So I'm saying green, 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 green.
Too funny.
She did that to me on the one of the other fights in Nighthold too. Oh gosh, now see, we haven't done it for a couple of weeks, so I can't remember it. Shoot, the boss where you get the plague or something, and you have to run out and go to the other side.
Oh yeah,
what's his name? Tichondria, yes. And
yeah.
That was another backwards fight for me. So, I mean, it keeps me on my toes, and I appreciate that and like that, because you need to change it up. You need to see something from a different viewpoint.
Very true. All right, guys, last question for this evening, because we've reached our time. I've really enjoyed reminiscing all about our last year, but this question is about the future. So let's do a prediction. Where do you think we're going to be at 2 years?
I think we'll still be here. I mean, WoW is not going away. So there's always going to be a new expansion, a new raid, something new. I know I can't do pet battle stuff forever, but because I'm always, luckily I've got stuff for next week up because I put up stuff for this week. But I mean, that's where we need suggestions from people. What would you like to hear? What would you like to know? What are we not covering that maybe you wanted to hear talked about?
I think it's funny because we've gotten, I'm going to say 10 to 12 fans that have joined our guild and transferred tunes and a whole bit. Some of them are raiding with us that have come to us because, and the majority of them have said, we love the chemistry of the five of us, the way we talk and about what we're talking about. And then they get into the guild and they're like, wow, the raid and the guild is exactly like these five in the podcast, so that's just something to say. I mean, you were mentioning a niche genre of people that would only listen to us, but yet I don't think they're listening, and I could be wrong. They're not listening solely for the content. They're listening to it because it's us. So my hat's off to all you guys. Thank you.
And the fact that we're doing it because we love it, and I don't see that changing. Maybe our feelings towards the game or the content might shift over time, and what we cover might shift over time. And that is something if I kind of wonder what has to change. Yeah, like the tanking minute, same thing too. I feels like I've covered some of the basics. It feels like we need to evolve, but like any good evolution, you never know what's coming next.
Yeah.
Something we'll have to look at. And, I like to I haven't had a lot of time to do that, but I try to listen to some other podcasts to kind of see what things they do. What do they talk about that maybe we just need to find a different, format. I mean, look, we've talked all night. We haven't done a pet minute, a healing minute, a DPS, a tank minute. We haven't done that, and that's fine.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Personally, it's one of those things like, for me, like the way the podcast evolves, I like that it just sort of evolves in its natural progression kind of thing. Because a lot of it is based after, what's going on in our adventures in Azeroth, to a certain extent. And I think, like as the game evolves, the podcast will evolve right alongside it, where we will talk about, current events in WoW and the new and interesting things that we're encountering that maybe we can help share with other players. And the one thing that I've noticed, from a lot of, from the feedback I've gotten about the podcast is that, we've kept it very accessible, where we're not like the elitist jerks kind of thing, like you're talking about, where it's like we're only talking about top end rating, where if you're not super awesome, you suck. It's more like, we talk about it from like a real player's perspective.
You did that very well.
But it's just and I like that we evolve over time in that direction, just like we have over the last year. I mean, from not even really knowing exactly how we were going to do things, and just kind of let it evolve over time. And I think that in a year, when we hit our second anniversary, I think it'll still be going on. I think we'll still have some really amazing chemistry, and I think that it'll still be hopefully interesting to our listeners, because I know it's interesting for me, at least. I think that I learn something every podcast, and it's been a good ride, and I think it'll continue to be.
Well, it's a little like we are in a tavern somewhere in Azeroth, sitting around talking about the game and our experiences. And I think really that's the genius, the core of what we're doing. And the rest is all just how we do it.
Yeah, I had one of my friends at work. He listened to one podcast. The next day I come in and he goes, "Hey, did you grab your frosty mug of ale?"
That's great.
And that's when I went, oh, do I need to change that?
Oh, I like that.
I'd say no. I think that's probably, I would actually say that's probably the core of what we're doing. It's not strictly formatted. It's not highly structured. And I think it's appealing because it's very human experience, right? And this is a very technological, alienating game potentially if you don't actually have people to play with. And this is about building that kind of sense of connection with people. And Tavern is a great metaphor for where we do that.
All right, so guys, we're going to have to call it here, but I do want to say, thank you to our fans. Thank you to Sharm. Thank you to the Goblin Goldcast. And thanks to all of our raid members. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Charity. I play a Draenei Resto Shaman and a Night Elf Vengeance Demon Hunter. Happy 1 year, Lionspridetavern. Here's a toast to many more.
Hi, I'm Dizzy Flores, and I play a human Beastmaster Hunter.
My name is Chugel, and I play a Night Elf Feral Druid.
Hi, I'm Mommy Fortuna. I play a Draenei Elemental Shaman.
Hi, I'm Donabelle, the Human Retribution Paladin.
Hello everyone, I'm Stormfang and I play a Night Elf Beastmaster Hunter.
Hi, I'm JobUI. I play a Worgen Frost Mage.
Hi, my name is Asine. I play a female Draenei Frost Mage, and I met the group through my friend Jalexi.
Hey, this is Formir. Everybody calls me Four. I play a Night Elf Beast Mastery Hunter, and I love it.
Hi, I'm Aqualexa, female Night Elf, the best hunter type, which is Marks, and I started raiding with Discord because of Mir and Four.
Hello, my name is Spiff J. Bug, and I play a Night Elf Beastmaster Hunter.
My name is Mortimer. I'm a human Frost Mage on Cenarius.
Hi, it's Lorelei, your Night Elf Fury Warrior.
Hi, my name is Niobe. I'm a human paladin, Retribution, on Dragonblight.
This is Marima. I play a Resto Druid Night Elf.
And Epistle is back.
Yes, I am. I don't always tank, but when I do, I tank as a Draenei Protection Paladin.
Hi, I'm Jalexi. I play a gnome frost mage.
Hi, I'm Milana. Everyone calls me Mel. I play a Night Elf Arms and Fury Warrior.
This is Phaedra. I am a Night Elf Restoration Druid.
Hi, I'm Amia. I'm a Draenei Holy Priest.
Hey, Tapachino, your Night Elf Restoration Druid, and glad to be back.
Hi, I'm Durag. I play a Dwarven Blood Death Knight tank.
Hi, I'm Jordan, and I'm a Draenei Beastmastery Hunter.
Hi, this is Zeetz. I play a Gnomish Holy Priest.
Hi, this is Polat. I play a Draenei Retribution Paladin.
Hi, I'm Sky's Chaser. I'm a Night Elf Beastmaster Hunter.
Hi, I'm Unholy Knight. Human Death Knight, and probably the best Death Knight in the raid. Oh, Death Knight DPS.
I'm Bronzebeard. I play a Dwarf Fury Warrior, and I have died countless times.
I'm going to say this is Caldish, also known as Mac from the Goblin Goldcast. I play a Havoc Demon Hunter.
Hi, I'm Kirbecca, and I play a Draenei Arcane Mage in the awesome game of World of Warcraft, and I'm married to Mac.
My name is Arkan Shadow. I am a Night Elf Demon Hunter in the awesome game of World of Warcraft.
That sounds familiar. Guys, thanks for coming. Thanks for being here for our 1-year podcast anniversary. I am totally looking forward to year number 2. I thoroughly enjoy everything I'm doing. You guys are great. Stormfang, thanks for joining us. Sorry you didn't get to talk much, but we'll get you on again and get you in a raid. How's that sound?
Alrighty.
All right.
Definitely.
Thank
Good
you,
night,
everybody.
Yep.
Thanks,
Happy
all.
anniversary.
If you like this podcast, throw us a like and subscribe to our channel. And please, leave comments or questions below. Maybe we'll answer them on the air next podcast. We are hosted on Podomatic.com. Our website is Lionspridetavern.podomatic.com. Our podcast also airs on iTunes for Apple users, Google Play for Androids, and YouTube. Just search World of Warcraft Lions Pride Tavern podcast. See you next week, and thanks for listening. So, I don't know if they told you what we're doing, but for our 1-year anniversary podcast, we want to introduce all the raid members. So all you have to do is say something like this. Hi, I'm Fafford. I play a Dwarven Beastmaster Hunter. So just name, race, subclass, class.
Hi, I'm Fafford, and I'm a Dwarven Beastmastery Hunter.
Beastmastery? I'm a Beastmaster.
Hey, I was just saying what you told me to say.
I knew there'd be 1 out of the 30.
Hi, this is Zeetz. I play a gnome priest and is holy. That didn't sound very good. I should write this down. Hi, this is Zeetz. I play a gnome. I'm not very good at this.
That's all right. My daughter had to write it down too. She goes, "Dad, shut up. Let me write this down."
Hi, this is Zeetz. I play a gnome priest who's holy.
How about
a gnomish
Zeetz,
holy priest?
Gnome. Yeah, a gnome holy priest.
Okay.
Gnomish. Sounds better.
Gnomish. Gnomish holy priest.
Okay.
Gnomish holy priest.
Okay.
Nomash. You have been summoned here to answer for the crimes of being a Death Knight.
I'll switch to Rogue. Give me a second. Hi, I'm Unholy Knight.
That's exactly kind of what I did. How did that?
See how difficult it is to say your name?
Hello, I'm Aqualux, a female wood elf, best hunter, Marks. Night elf, not wood elf. I'm thinking of Epic West.
Hi.
Is that it? That's all I get?
Okay, give me a second and I'm gonna write something.
Okay. Hi, my name is Niobe. I am a female ret paladin.
Okay, got it that time.
Yours?
I did record it. I knew you'd do it if I pushed you.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say whenever either one of you are ready. I mean, you know what you're going to say?
And you just go, hi.
No. See, I can't do that now because you did it.
Well, the only reason he did it is because he's playing a female and he's a guy.
Hi, my name is Charity. I play a Draenei Resto Shaman and a Night Elf Vengeance Demon Hunter. Happy 1 year, Lions Tavern. Here's a toast to many more.
That was close. We're, Alliance Tavern. We're, Lionspridetavern.
Son of a...
It's all right. Try it again.
Okay.
Son of a...
Happy 1 year, Lionspridetavern. Here's a toast to many more. I broke my glass in the process.
Oh, no.
Son of a... It's horrible. It makes me sad. My glass broke.